Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to yet another video here on the channel. Time to talk about stupidity yet again. Cornell University has just announced that they are removing the Gettysburg Address from their display because somebody complained. Probably a pink and blue-haired social justice moron. Full article is on the link in the description down below, archived of course. I think most of you guys are pretty much already aware as to what's been going on the past 2 years. You're seeing all of our historical figures in US history being canceled for absolutely no reason. We've seen statues of Thomas Jefferson being torn down. We're seeing statues of George Washington being torn down. And of course we have statues of Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, even Abraham Lincoln being canceled. Now all of these people are great, important historical figures in US history, and they should be respected as such. George Washington, the first president of the United States, the father of our country, and the lead commander of the American Revolutionary War. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence and the third president of the United States. Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves, the leader of the Union during the Civil War. Teddy Roosevelt, one of the greatest presidents in US history. All talk, no action, speak softly and carry a big stick. All of our greatest leaders in this nation's history are being canceled. For what reason? I think everybody should learn who these people are because they are very, very important to American history. As a patriotic American myself, I think we should honor them every day. Now, of course, to no surprise, in the wake of all the chaos from the summer of 2020, the left and the legacy media routinely attack them, despite the fact that they are not controversial in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Invariably, they would make the worst excuses possible, like, oh, George Washington was a slave owner. Oh, Thomas Jefferson was also a slave owner. They owned slaves, so therefore they're problematic.
Mount Rushmore, where he'll be standing in front of a monument of two slave owners and on land wrestled away from Native Americans.
Let's go and tear their statues down and rename everything that is named after Washington and Jefferson to, I don't know, Floyd and Taylor. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. We should respect him for that, but you know what? We're not going to respect him anymore because of the indigenous people on this continent. Because under these presidents, even though they were considered great leaders, they should no longer be honored and glorified anymore because they all wrestled land away from Native Americans. A lot of the excuses the left makes as to why they want to cancel these figures are all possibly the stupidest ones you can think of. Although, to my knowledge, I think they're making these excuses because a lot of all the historical people that they're trying to cancel are all white men. Makes perfect sense because I remember the time when Shaun King called for statues of Jesus to be taken down because they all depict him as a white man. I did not make that up, by the way. Anyway, what is the latest and greatest of the trend of erasing our history and tearing down our historical figures? What is brand new to this edition? Well, hot off the press, somebody just sent this article to me. Let me just read you the headline. Cornell University removes Gettysburg Address Lincoln bust from library after alleged complaint. TLDR, the 7 years ago speech was just removed from the library from display because some leftoid complained about it. Real question is, why would you remove the Gettysburg Address from display? How the fuck is that speech racist or offensive? I mean, let me read this entire speech to you, word for word, and I want you to tell me what's racist, bigoted, or problematic about it. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger scale, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Now I want y'all to point out what is problematic about that speech, that it needs to be removed from public display. I read the entire thing. Now I want you to point out what makes it racist. Nothing. There is nothing that I can see in the Gettysburg Address that makes it considered offensive. None whatsoever. Unless you can count the phrase under God as offensive. One big thing I've noticed from the left is that they drop the phrase under God from the Pledge of Allegiance, even though there's literally nothing wrong with saying one nation under God. Aside from that, there is nothing wrong with the Gettysburg Address whatsoever. In fact, when you take a look at the historical context of the speech, it calls for unity as one nation under God. Unfortunately, the leftoids don't understand that. And while we're at it, might as well add a second story to this video, which is a similar situation, and this is from an article from the Washington Post calling for George Washington University to have their name change. Now, this is a couple months ago, but it's relevant to today since the Gettysburg Address got removed from Cornell University. I don't need to, post an article about it, but I will anyway, link in the description, but I can also display a picture right on your screen. Opinion: George Washington University needs a new name, according to the Washington Post. You know what, Washington Post? If George Washington University needs a new name, the Washington Post also needs a new name too. If you're truly serious about racial justice, might as well change the name of the Washington Post right now if you want to change George Washington University. Because again, according to you and your supporters, Washington was a racist slave owner who created a country by whites and for whites, and that is intentionally and systematically racist, so he must be canceled, and in addition to that, he also wrestled land away from Native Americans. I mean, the stuff that the left has been saying is the reason why they should be ignored. And this is not coming from the mainline Democrats. You don't see Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi call our historical figures like George Washington racist. This is mostly coming from the Cori Bushes and the Elon Omars of the party. They're the ones pushing all of this shit, not the mainline DNC. The leftoids really need to understand that what they're doing is the reason why they're universally hated to begin with. Wokeness and cancel culture is not popular amongst the average American, especially when it involves our historical figures like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. Wokeness and all this crazy shit the left is doing is universally hated amongst most Americans. Believe me, there is a very good reason why Bernie Sanders got crushed in the primary. Wokeness, socialism, has been rejected so many times in this country already. Just stop it. You are making yourselves look like idiots. And November 8th is already 4 months away. I'm sorry, why did you lose Virginia again? Why are you poised to lose this year's election again? Ideally, it's a combination of two things: the shitty economy that we're dealing with right now, and this shit. It's these two things mainly. And the more it continues, the more people are gonna start getting more and more fed up with the antics. Oh, and besides, who are the ones calling out the wokeness? Who are the ones that are the most pissed off at critical race theory, at the 1619 Project, at trying to attack figures like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln for being racist? The people who are actually complaining about all of this, they're not white, they're black. A lot of the people complaining about this stupidity, they're not just a bunch of white people who are complaining about racial justice. That's not true whatsoever. Half of the complaints are coming from people of color. They're black, they're Latino, they're proud BIPOC, so they say. I mean, look at the voter registration towards Latinos right now. Why do you think Dems are losing ground towards Latino voters? Because they're already fed up with their shit. Look at Texas. Look at Florida. Look at Arizona. Look at New Mexico. Look at Nevada. Look at Colorado. Look at those states to me and tell me why in the world are those states trending red? And when you read those 2 articles of canceling George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, that should already give you the answer. Go woke, go broke. Cannot wait for November 8th. Anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description down below. This was just a short little video that doesn't take too much of your time and goes straight down to the topic. I've actually experimented with this format and these types of content like this on my first new tech exclusive, so be sure to check that out. All of my new tech is on the link in the description down below. All 3 of these sites, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, it's the usual 3. I'm a little curious to see if this format is actually better than what I did originally. With the 20 to 30 minute long videos, they take too much time, and they get delayed most of the time, but they are quality over quantity types of videos, and they are more descriptive, or short little topic videos like this and my new tech exclusive from earlier, which are shorter but easier to make. I could try to do a combination of the 2. Once a month I'll do a 20 to 30 minute video, once or twice a month, and the rest of the way I'll do short videos, small topics, sort of that thing, and that will probably get more content on the channel. I don't know which content is better. I'll leave that entirely up to you guys, but I think a longer 20-minute video once or twice a month, which was my original format, combined with smaller videos, I think will fit the best. All depends on how I feel. In fact, my mental health really wasn't the best this past month, and it really took quite a bit of time for me to focus on that. Motivation is pretty much the most important thing I have to deal with, and with the election getting closer and closer, I feel like that could start ramping up the closer we get to November 8th. I will be making endorsements and election videos, of course. Maybe I can take a week or 2 live streaming every now and again. Who knows what I could be doing between today and all the way up to November 8th. I'll be sure to keep you up to date on all my social medias, obviously. And I also have a Discord server, link in the description below to join it. That is where most of my information will probably be. If you have any topic you want me to cover in a future video, send me an article, send me some news stories. You can do that on the Discord server. I'm very surprised that I don't promote it as often as I'm supposed to. So if you want to join my Discord server, feel free to join. Links in the description below, as well as in a pinned comment down below as well. Anyway, like, subscribe, ring notification, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.